Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to do something a little different. We're diving into a security paper from way back in 2006 that didn't just see what was happening in cybercrime. It basically predicted its entire future. So let's get into it.
Just one sentence and it totally nails this massive change. This is the exact moment malware went from being a joke, a prank, to being a full-time job. And the story of how we got there is laid out for us right here in this paper.
So to get a handle on the crazy threats we're all dealing with now, you really have to rewind the clock. Back to a time when, believe it or not, malware was, well, it was something else entirely. It was more about exploring than it was about extorting.
Yeah, the author of this paper actually remembers that back in 2003, Trojans were kind of like a hobby, just coders messing around, seeing what they could do. But fast forward just a couple of years and boom, those same ideas were turned into serious weapons for spying and, you guessed it, making money. The internet was just never the same after that.
So what was the big spark? What turned this from fun and games into a full-blown financial enterprise? Well, the paper says it comes down to one thing, and it's always the same thing, right? Money. A ton of it hitting the internet for the very first time. Think about it. Suddenly, you have millions and millions of people, tons of businesses, all jumping online, building this brand new digital economy. And right on their heels, the criminals. They saw this whole new world just packed with opportunities to make cash on a scale nobody had ever dreamed of.
And boy, did the attacks come fast. Look at this number, 680%. That's the increase in what are called distributed denial of service, or DDoS attacks. And get this, that's not over a decade. That was just between the first half of 2004 and the first half of 2005. That is not an increase, that's an explosion.
And this survey, right from the paper, it just paints the picture perfectly. By 2004, the biggest digital crimes weren't, some employee stealing data or simple fraud. Nope. Look at the top two right here. Malicious code and DOS attacks. This was crime going pro, gearing up to take on this new digital world.
Okay, so with all this money on the table, what happens? You get innovation, right? But this was innovation in the criminal underworld. All of a sudden, there was a massive reason to build bigger, badder, better tools for crime. And the absolute workhorse, the engine driving this whole new cybercrime economy, was the botnet. I mean, just think about it. It's like a criminal's own secret supercomputer, but it's built out of thousands of regular people's PCs from all over the globe, all infected, and all just waiting for a command.
Now, this is what's so cool about this slide. It's like we're looking over the shoulder of the operator. From this simple little chat window, one person could control their zombie army. You can see 52 infected machines right here, and tell them to do whatever they want. Launch an attack, send out spam, steal info. Now just imagine that, but scaled up to thousands. So now that they have these huge botnets, criminals could literally hold entire online businesses hostage. Think about it. They could just flood a company's website, knock it completely offline, costing them who knows how much money every minute, and then send a note saying, pay up or it stays down.
And here's what that looks like on a graph from the paper. See that insane spike? That's not a bunch of happy customers. That's a tidal wave of garbage traffic from a botnet. And its only job is to break the system. But, attacking big businesses was only half the story. The other half was about making it personal.
Right, so if DDoS attacks were about holding a company hostage, the next logical step was holding your stuff hostage, your personal files. Now, the first versions were kind of clunky, but the terrifying idea behind what we call ransomware today, this idea of crypto-viral extortion, it was officially out of the bag.
Okay, so the tools are getting really powerful, but the next leap forward is what really turned cybercrime into an industry. Criminals figured out they'd be way more successful if they stopped being lone wolves and started specializing.
And this is the absolute key takeaway. Cybercrime got its own supply chain. It's not one guy doing everything anymore. Now you've got a whole network of specialists. Each one is an expert in their own little niche, and they're all selling their skills and services to each other. And it created this whole bustling underground economy. It worked like this. Spammers, right? They need tons of new email addresses so their junk mail gets through. So malware writers step in and create Trojans that just scrape email lists off of infected computers. Then you have the phishers who need hacked websites to put their fake bank login pages on. No problem. Website hackers will sell them access for a fee. And just like that, cybercrime as a service is born, a whole economy running on profit. So, seeing all of this happening, this new organization, all this money, the author of this 2006 paper made some predictions. And honestly, they are chillingly on the money.
And you gotta understand, these weren't just shots in the dark. They were totally logical conclusions based on where things were already going. The paper basically said, hey, our lives are moving to mobile phones, so crime is gonna follow. It saw that our data was becoming priceless, so of course, holding it for ransom was gonna be big business.
And the proof was already there, you know? This wasn't some far-off sci-fi future. When the paper warned about mobile malware, it was because it was already happening. Just look at this chart pulled straight from the source material. You can see that steady climb of mobile threats starting way back in 2005. But honestly, the biggest, most significant prediction was that this whole criminal scene would grow up into a real marketplace. The paper literally predicted a future with ransomware as a service, botnets for rent, cybercrime available on demand. I mean, come on, that is the exact world that security pros are fighting against right now, today.
So the entire multi-billion-dollar cybercrime industry we're dealing with today, its foundation was laid down decades ago. The playbook was written right here, back in 2006. And that kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What playbooks are being written right now for the threats we'll be facing 10, 15 years down the road?